As a leader, the stakes are always high because people are always watching. You are always on stage.
The most powerful leaders, the most authentic leaders, are the ones that can say, hey, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm about. And it's shown up in my actions, and it's shown up in my words. And all of those actions are strategically connected to what's most important to you on the inside. What today is really about is helping you identify who are you as a leader, really from the internal space. Who are you as a leader? What are you fighting for? And how can you make that show up in the world congruently? So what actions can you take to bring that authentic self to life in a powerful, authentic way that people go, yes, yes, I get what you're about. You're all leaders. We only succeed if everyone succeeds. We've got to find a way to communicate who we are, what we're about, have our actions show up congruently with that. Otherwise, we're sending mixed messages. Bring a group of people together, and you give them permission to be human, and then you get out of their way, and extraordinary things happen. And I am just amazed every time at what people bring to the space when you create the space for them. And the hope they sow in this world they know. And the company we keep is what makes it all more sweet. Always
That was really a powerful YouTube that I found. I mean, I know it wasn't a YouTube. It ended up on YouTube. But you know, there are different kinds of YouTubes, but that was very powerful. And I wanted to play that during the break because I wanted to get everybody a chance to see and kind of get where you were coming from, so I didn't have to do too much introduction because I wanted you to be able for Anthony to really talk to you. Thank you for coming to the show. Kimberly Davis with On Stage Leadership, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Anthony Kung, who is our co-host, and just we love having you on the show, and the guests you bring, it just always amazes me.
Thank you, Kathy.
Amazes me. So I'm going to turn it over to him. I'm going to turn it over to him, and remember the little clocks over here.
Yes, if you could let me know what the time would be.
Okay.
Thanks, Kathy. I actually did think about reading the introduction to Kimberly too from a website, and I thought to myself, well, everyone can read that, but you know, I mean, if we have time in the end, I would like to know how you sing to cows at sub-zero temperature. So if we have time in the end, but let me tell you how I met up with Kimberly. We had an event about a year ago, and she was one of the keynote speakers. And I was part of planning this conference event, 200, 250 people, and didn't have really the time to find a lunch partner to be with. So all these friends of mine saying, do you have a partner? Do you have a partner? No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. So I show up at lunch, and guess who's sitting next to me? I think they regretted it afterwards because we were a little bit mischievous, but I'm glad you're here, Kimberly.
Well, thank you, Anthony, and who knew?
And you know what? That you manifested that. That's a new word I've learned.
Yes, indeed. Ooh, I like it. I like it.
Now, if you could let our audience know, how did you get to the point to on-stage leadership? So just a brief introduction about yourself.
Okay, well, so I did theater for about 20 years. And then I decided about 15 years ago that theater was not paying the bills enough. So I continued to do professional theater and started different companies and started doing some training for international students.
Right.
And then around 2001 I started doing training in leadership development. Okay. And so I have been training and doing leadership development for about 9 years. 8 years at the time. And I was in the classroom in Philadelphia for a big pharmaceutical company. And the director of training was sitting in my room, and he heard about my theater background, and he saw my work, and he liked my work, and he said, you know, I've always wanted to do a program around leadership and using theater. And I said, well, funny you would ask. I said, you know, I've always wanted to marry the two. And so that was really the birth of Onstage Leadership.
Okay.
We put together a deal where they were my pilot partner, and we then launched Onstage Leadership here in Dallas prior to launching the pilot for the pharmaceutical group. And the group was for a high potential group of sales professionals for the pharmaceutical company. And I knew I was going to be doing Onstage Leadership for the first time, and I didn't want to make a fool out of myself. So I said, well, what can I do? I need to bring all of these professionals from Dallas together to make sure that this thing works. And lo and behold, it did.
Nice.
And so the first session, the pilot of Onstage Leadership, I believe was March 7th of 2009.
Okay.
And since
just last year.
It was just last year. It's been an extraordinary ride.
Yeah.
And that was a huge success.
Is it?
And then several weeks later, I went to Philadelphia and we did the rollout for the pharmaceutical company. And since then, we've got about 140 graduates that have gone through Onstage Leadership, and it has been the ride of my life.
Has it?
It really has. It really
Because
has.
it's rather different. I mean, there are a lot of leadership programs out there.
Yeah.
And this is really different in that it marries the theater and the leadership concepts. I mean, have you seen other similar like that?
Well, there are a number of programs out there, but what's a little bit different about Onstage Leadership is when people think, oh, I'm going to be doing this, theater thing. They think, oh, I'm going to be acting, and they're going to teach us how to fake it better. I had this one participant that was saying, oh, I'm so glad I'm taking this program, Kimberly, because maybe now I'll know how to fake it better at work. And I said, oh, Judy, you are so in the wrong place, because what Onstage Leadership is about is really about tapping into that authentic self and understanding what drives you internally. And if you understand and can name what drives you internally, what that does is it leads to very powerful external behaviors and external actions that cause people to want to follow you. But most of us can't name, this is what I'm about, this is what drives me. And then we are reacting to the world instead of proactively choosing our behavior. And through Onstage Leadership, if you can name what you're about, then you can start to make choices that are going to be congruent with who you are. So you're showing up in the world in a more powerful and authentic way. And people go, yes, I get that. I get what you're about, and I want to be a part of what you're doing.